Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star Part 318 based on novel. So let's start. Alright. Luo Feng said no more. He transformed into a beam of light as he continued flying at high speed, then, after taking a bend, he stopped before a huge, exquisite door. The colors on the door were an intertwining mix of gold and cyan. Its entirety annotated royalty. Thus, countless living souls would have considered it to be in a superior position far removed from the masses. They were full of apprehension and did not dare enter. Luo Feng and Dear Bugmaster's willpower were extremely determined, as they pushed the door open almost at the same time. The big door opened. Control room. Upon pushing open the door, they set foot inside a towering and spacious hall that was very beautiful. Within the hall, there were various decorative items on display. There were also some ornaments hung on the walls. The moment Luo Feng entered, he did not hesitate to release a large amount of godly power from his body. He charged about crazily in a random and haphazard manner and scoured all corners of the vast hall with his eyes flashing traces of insanity. It was as though he was thinking, Luo Feng may not recognize which is the core control, but it is safe within the boat of Mausoleum, and there are no traces of destruction from the external environment, so I could try to brand the treasures I found with my life imprints and get everything instantly verified once. I don't even need to know which the core control is because I will try to get all of the items here to recognize their master. Luo Feng looked towards Dear Bugmaster, who was a short distance away. The moment Dear Bugmaster entered the hall, he went around looking for the core control. When he saw how Luo Feng suddenly scattered his godly power without inhibitions, he could not help exclaiming, Milky Way Horde leader, what are you doing scattering your godly power in such an unrestrained manner? What do you think I am doing? Luo Feng laughed and asked. I am not as experienced as you, Dear Bugmaster, so I can only use such a silly method. This is boat of Mausoleum we are talking about. Do you think branding it with life imprints is the way to get it to recognize its master? You think it is so simple? Dear Bugmaster teased and laughed. Ha ha. I did not tell you before, to get it to recognize its master, its core control is the real method. Luo Feng's face changed slightly. Yes, that's it. The way of getting supreme true treasures to recognize their masters was complicated, which meant that getting the core control of Boat of Mausoleum to recognize its master would also be quite complicated. Do you know why I rallied you? Dear Bugmaster teased. Other than the two reasons I mentioned previously, the third one would be, those guys from the first reincarnation era have seen more and were more experienced. Maybe among them, there will be someone who knows the way to get the core control to recognize its master. They are my greatest enemies. Come on, if you have the capability to find the way to get the core control to recognize its master, I will not interfere at all. While he spoke, Dear Bugmaster was, on the other hand, probing around as quickly as he could. Indeed, you have a hidden hand, Luo Feng whispered to himself. Everything was as he had expected. Since it is so difficult to find, then. Luo Feng made a swift decision. The majority of his attention was placed on Dear Bugmaster, carefully observing his various reactions like his expressions to help Luo Feng decide on his target. Dear Bugmaster's expression was one of jest as he searched around for the core control in a leisure manner. Very soon, everything within that control room of the vast hall was searched. This caused Dear Bugmaster's expression to change slightly. Again, he searched through every object in that entire hall, more meticulously this time, and his expression changed drastically. How is this possible? He said. How can there be nothing at all? The core control, how can it not be in the control room? No way. Dear Bugmaster glowered with rage. It seemed as though the various plans that he had made had all fallen through, and he found it unbearable. After all, the worth of the Boat of Mausoleum was close to that of a supreme true treasure. Solely the fact that it was indestructible had made it second only to a palace supreme true treasure. Plus, it could enter the tomb. Even Dear Bugmaster only had one treasure that was more superior than the Boat of Mausoleum after countless years, his Dear Bug godly armor. Seeing how close he was to seizing the Boat of Mausoleum only to see it slip through his fingers. How can he take it lying down? Dear Bugmaster, I'm afraid you may have miscalculated. Luophone laughed, then said gently, this core control may not be in the control room. What do you know? Dear Bugmaster grunted coldly. The control room is where the master of the boat of Mausoleum resides. That great ancient civilization was strict with respect to its hierarchical system, with the control room being where its master resided. The master was of incomparable nobility, and no other great beings would dare intrude. From the door you saw earlier to the core control, both have always been placed here at the control room. This is the usual practice. Usual practice? How many boats of Mausoleum have you encountered so far? Luophone shook his head and laughed. Suddenly, Luophone's expression changed slightly, and he turned to look behind him at the doorway that was a distance away from him. Dear Bugmaster also turned around to look. For streaks of light charged through the door almost simultaneously. Humph! Dear Bugmaster's expression changed. Ha ha ha, dear Bugmaster, are you trying to stop us? Jittery Sea Master of Skeleton Clan laughed, and his laughter was filled with mockery. But this is a gigantic vessel, after all. There are many ways to get about, and also, more than one route leading to the control room. And by the looks of it, dear Bugmaster has yet to obtain the core control, Sorcerer Sprite Master said. Hurry up and look for it, Shadow Dust Master said. Liu Ju Master did not make a single utterance. He moved quickly and started to search for the core control. Humph, Sorcerer Sprite Master grunted, and with a sudden wave of his arm, an immeasurable amount of golden blood splashed out in midair and divided into countless golden drops before falling over every single item in the hall. Divine Eye Clan, indeed worthy of the Divine Eye Clan, to be aware of such a verification method. Dear Bugmaster snorted. You think only you who are from the Holy Land universe would understand? Sorcerer Sprite Master laughed coldly. Then, with a change of expression, he asked, how come there isn't anything here? Divine Eye Clan was known to be the top power of the third reincarnation era. When compared to the two Holy Land universes, they were an extremely close match. On the level of Universe Masters, the Divine Eye Clan was weaker. But on the level of Universe Supreme Masters, the Divine Eye Clan was, on the contrary, more powerful than the two Holy Land universes. For close to 3 reincarnation eras, the amount of information that Divine Eye Clan has gathered was quite plentiful. Therefore, the clan was very well informed. This scattering of blood droplets was a way of verifying the core control. Once verified, the next step would be to get the core control to recognize its master, which was more complicated. Not here. There is no core control. Shadow Dust Master looked shocked. How is that possible? Could it be that dear Bugmaster has already seized it? Jittery Sea Master of Skeleton Clan said with eyes that were burning with wild flames. If I had it, would I still be standing here like a fool? Dear Bugmaster jeered. Strange. How can there be no core control? There were 6 great beings scattered around in that spacious hall, and at that moment all were in a state of utter confusion. An intangible force suddenly befell them. Dear Bugmaster, Luophone, Shadow Dust Master, Sorcerer Sprite Master, Jittery Sea Master, and Liu Ju Master all turned to look forward at the hall above the one containing the control room. There was an ancient throne, and at that moment, the intangible force was gathered on that throne to gradually give rise to a vague figure. Finally, the figure came into clear view. The figure looked no different from any ordinary human form man. 2 eyes, 1 nose, and 1 mouth. 2 arms, 2 legs, black eyes, and yellow skin. Its hair was completely cyan. Just like a human. He resembles an ordinary clansman from Purple Moon Holy Land, too. Not a trace of oppression. Luophone and company all looked at that vague figure in shock. The cyan-haired human man seated high up on the throne was wearing simple armor that had streaks of floral patterns. At first glance, the armor was like an endless, rolling river with surging waves. He looked down with eyes staring coldly, then he introduced himself. My name is Duandong River Wu. This sent shudders coursing through Luophone and the other 5 great beings. Shadow Dust Master looked very solemn. Wu? Wu is an extremely respectable title in that ancient civilization. If a name carries a Wu character after it, that person must be someone extraordinary. Dear Bugmaster jested as he threw a look at Shadow Dust Master. You do know some stuff, but with that little bit of knowledge, I think it is better you keep your peace. If great beings from that ancient civilization come to know of it, I think you will become the joke of the town. Humph. Shadow Dust Master gave Dear Bugmaster a cold look. The cyan-haired human man high on his throne did not seem to be aware of the situation below as he continued to say with indifference, descendants from endless reincarnation eras later, when you all finally meet me, I would have been annihilated for an unknown number of reincarnation eras. Previously, when I embarked on this final adventure with my general, I already knew that chances of survival were slim. Indeed, this path was the most difficult one. Even for the greatest ship, or the bravest and strongest great beings, whatever or whoever is treading upon it would be bound to fail. Now that I know I am expected to fail, I do not wish to put an end to my inheritance. I, Duandong River Wu, am the 192nd Master of Duandong River. And the sole heir. Generations of ancestors, dying one after another in battles. When it was my turn, the inheritances had accumulated for so long that I lost count. If I die, the inheritance will be cut off with me. I have let the generations of ancestors down. I have remodeled this boat of mausoleum. It is different from the others. Within it, there are more dangerous lands, and lands of inheritances. I can die, he continued. But generations of inheritances of Duandong River cannot die off. If you all are feeling afraid now, you may leave. Otherwise, the moment you set foot upon this path, the dangers in your way will only intensify. Especially toward the end, when you come into contact with the one true inheritance from my Duandong River. Only the one receiving the inheritance may survive, or if none of you are able to receive the inheritance, then all of you shall be annihilated. The earlier you leave, the safer you are, the later you leave, especially when you come into contact with just a mere bit of inheritance, non-descendants from the generations of Duandong River who try to covet after our line of inheritance must die. Quick! Make your choice, descendants. The voice dispersed, and the figure on the throne vanished. At one point in time, there was an oppressive energy over the entire hall. All 6 pairs of eyes contained craziness or excitement or worry. There was a wide array of emotions. Inheritance. The true inheritance. Why were the 7 true masters of Divine Eye Clan so powerful? Because the Divine Eye Clan once found a complete series of inheritance among monuments, allowing the 7 great true masters to be able to unleash an unbelievably strong power the moment they joined forces. That was why, among the universe ocean, the most precious inheritance would be a complete series where cultivation could start from a low to a high level. But this inheritance, it was an inheritance from a pulse on Duandong River? From the sound of it, this pulse on the Duandong River was probably one that ran rampant, one from the great ancient civilization that was extremely strong and dominating. Every pulse only had one heir. With a name that contained a Wu character, to remodel an entire boat of mausoleum, given his speaking tone and manner, and even to have followed his general out on a venture. This so-called general must have been a general from the universe boat. His status had to be extremely high. Obviously, this inheritance from the pulse on the Duandong River was very precious. Even if this Duandong River wanted to die alone, the inheritance must be left behind. An endless and long-standing ancient inheritance. Earlier generations were probably much stronger than the current generation of Duandong River, which meant that this inheritance should not be judged based on the capability of Duandong River Wu. There was probably something more profound about it. The current generation of Duandong River had yet to reach that level of cultivation. Regardless, the conclusion boiled down to one point: the inheritance of that pulse on Duandong River was a most precious inheritance. However, the moment one was to tread upon this path, the result might be frightening. Once one touched an inch of that inheritance. Duandong River Wu's voice seemed to vaguely resonate within the main hall of the control room, which made the silence within the hall even more apparent. Dear Bug Master, Liu Ju Master, Shadow Dust Master, Sorcerer Sprite Master, Jittery Sea Master, and Luophone were all going crazy, and their eyes were filled with agony as they struggled on. Dear Bugmaster was in a dilemma amidst his struggles. To go or not to go? I am from the Holy Land universe, an eternal being, eternally free from annihilation. If I go, I will be at risk of being annihilated. But if I choose not to go, I will forego this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. How powerful is that ancient civilization? Shadow Dust Master squinted his eyes, and the single-eyed shadow behind him was flashing and flickering. Apparently, the ripples of uncertainty he was feeling were extremely strong. To be able to create the universe boat. Such a large quantity of items like the black-striped stone pillars were only one out of the many items within the universe boat. This inheritance that Duan Dong River Wu is referring to, even when placed within the context of that ancient civilization, must be one of a kind. What a valuable inheritance this must be, but for such an inheritance, the difficulty of obtaining it would be as expected. A chance. The one and only chance, one and only chance. Jittery Sea Master's eyes were filled with insanity. Bestow upon me the chance. This time, Liu Ju Master's perfect face registered traces of hesitation. All who were present were in turmoil. The same was true for Luo Feng, whose entire body seemed to be going out of control as his godly power raged and surged, producing waves in his surroundings. He had thought the fight to be for the boat of Mausoleum. Who would have expected that the boat of Mausoleum was only a supplementary item? The more prominent part of it was that it contained the extremely powerful inheritance of the ancient civilization. The inheritance was certainly an object of great desire. Yet going after it also entailed the risk of annihilation. Luo Feng was aware that he might have another body. But given the means of this ancient civilization, who dared to make a remark like, "Those who covet after our line of inheritance must die," its punishment surely would not deal solely with one body. Luo Feng was silently considering his options. Should I go or not? I, Luo Feng, have gone through merely a dozen or more eras of cultivation. Even without this opportunity, I believe, with my power, I will be able to become a universe master easily. I can still become a universe master later, there is still hope. But the moment I accept this inheritance, I will be volunteering for a perilous adventure. Should I take the risk or not? Luo Feng was caught in a dilemma. I only have the confidence that I can become a universe master. But I am clueless about how I can become a universe master. Even if I do become one in the future, so what? At most, I can live for as long as 3 reincarnation eras. Luo Feng quietly mumbled, if I want true immortality, then I must achieve a successful breakthrough of a reincarnation era. What a pity. Throughout Universe Ocean, for countless eras, who has actually succeeded? Only the 2 Holy Land universes. Luo Feng recalled the individual space within the chamber of the Black Token, where he saw that smooth and shiny stone wall filled with information left behind by generations of masters of that space. First Master. Second Master. Third Master. Starting from 9 Mortal Master, to 5 Chaos Master, then to Luo Feng. There was a total of 20,295 Space Masters. As for the actual number of Space Masters before 9 Mortal Master, no one knew. Based on the current total, it was clear that an overwhelming number of reincarnation eras had passed. Endless reincarnation eras. And how many gifted talents were there? Merely 2 Holy Land universes. There will be Universe Supreme Masters from every reincarnation era, a few dozen of them. For thousands of reincarnation eras or more, there must be so many Universe Supreme Masters who have emerged. Who could achieve eternity? Luo Feng raised his head to look up at the throne in that hall. His gaze was ablaze. This is the chance of a lifetime. That highly arrogant ancient civilization must have an extremely powerful inheritance. By my judgment, Duan Dong River Wu must be ranked at the top within the universe boat, so within that ancient civilization, this chance must also be very valuable. With this inheritance, I will be able to see a path that is much further ahead. A path that is higher than that of Universe Supreme Masters. With the guidance of that inheritance, I will be able to achieve greater things and tread on higher paths. In that great hall, every one of them struggled with their own trains of thought. Suddenly, a foreign aura made an abrupt appearance. Golden Square Master, since you have chosen to come out, I will let you out, Sorcerer Sprite Master said coldly. But what choice you make is your own business. A man in golden armor from the Divine Eye clan appeared beside Sorcerer Sprite Master. This was Golden Square Master, who had been hiding within the palace true treasure all this time. Although he had not come out, he had been able to see and hear everything that had happened in the outside world very clearly. Naturally, he too would not be able to resist the temptation. Another figure appeared beside him. It was a strange, lofty figure covered in dark red, which seemed to be fully composed of blood-red bones, a great being from the skeleton clan. Red Lark, this is a choice that concerns life and death, but I will not stop or influence you. Jittery Sea Master said. Red Lark Master nodded. All of you appear to have your own helper, Liu Ju Master said with a gentle wave. Then beside her, a burly giant with 8 arms and a body that seemed to be made entirely of stones appeared. In a low and rumbling voice, he said, Liu Ju, if you say you are going, I will go. If you are not going, then I shall not go. Rock Giant Master? So, it is true that wherever Liu Ju Master is, we will find you Rock Giant there, too. Sorcerer Sprite Master snorted. Dear Bug, do you have a helper? Milky Way, do you have a helper? The Divine Eye clan, the Skeleton clan, and the First Ancestral God School all had helpers of their own. It was just that the number of helpers was usually limited to 1. In fact, it was common practice that, within the deep region of the internal domain, unless one was extremely confident, like Dear Bug Master, the great beings would normally choose to act in pairs. Like Red Hawk Master and Jittery Sea Master acting together, Shadow Dust Master and Sorcerer Sprite Master taking action together, and Liu Ju Master and Rock Giant Master taking action together. And for Golden Square Master, he simply just happened to be around when this fight was happening. Since I started roaming Universe Ocean, I have always acted alone, Dear Bug Master said right away. Luo Phone shook his head. I'm without a helper, too. Ha ha. 3 from the Divine Eye clan, 2 from the Skeleton clan, 2 from the First Ancestral God School, Milky Way, and me. Altogether, 9 of us. Dear Bug Master laughed out loud. I'm afraid this is not going to be an easy choice, but it is an opportunity that comes by once in a lifetime. Even within my Purple Moon Holy Land, I have never heard of such a mysterious kind of inheritance. There are some ordinary inheritances, but I suppose those are left inside by normal great beings and obviously not on the same scale as Duan Dong River Wu's inheritance. And when those normal great beings are annihilated, the little dangers that they leave behind are not major enough to threaten me. But this Duan Dong River Wu. He dares to utter such words, I think. Even if he has been annihilated, the methods that he leaves behind will be powerful enough to deal with Universe Supreme Masters. Dear Bug Master's eyes swept through the crowd, then said, Everyone, please be thorough when you consider your options. Just as everyone was going through an internal struggle, on the throne where all energy seemed to converge, the cyan-haired figure took form again. That was Duan Dong River. Have you all made up your minds after careful considerations? Duan Dong River stood up and slowly walked down while keeping his eyes on the 9 figures below. Luo Phone, Dear Bug Master, and the group of great beings were aware that this was merely a figure left behind by Duan Dong River and was controlled by something like an intelligence. The actual Duan Dong River had already been annihilated. Rise! Duan Dong River pointed to the ground and gave his orders gently. The hall was lifted and started to rise in an instant. A large, circular stone tile immediately rose up to reveal a deep hole. One glance into the deep hole and, vaguely, one could see a sea of dark red with occasional, contorted red airwaves. If you are willing to receive that inheritance, you may go down, Duan Dong River said. I shall choose the heir to my pulse of Duan Dong River according to our own methods. What lays in store for you all would be various tests that you have to pass, and you shall gradually get in contact with the inheritance. The moment you start getting in contact with the inheritance, your path will be fraught with life and death dangers. If you succeed in accepting all the inheritance, you survive. If you are unable to receive the full inheritance but merely receive traces of it, then you must die. If you are having cold feet now, you can leave right away. The gate will not shut after it has opened. You can even invite your fellow clanspeople and friends to try their luck. The more potential intruders, the better. This way, there is a higher possibility of finding the next Duandong River. Duandong River's gaze swept across the 9 concerned figures. Choose. After finishing his instructions, his form seemed to become nothing but dust. Then, with a slight tremor, he disintegrated to nothingness. The circular stone tiles floated up, revealing an endless, dark red passageway. To go in or not? Doomsday is near, yet I am given such an opportunity, Red Hawk Master said in a low voice. Based on the methods of that ancient civilization, I may be from the first reincarnation era, but it is also possible for me to become a universe supreme and break through a reincarnation era. Even the ancient civilization is unable to break through the restrictions. Once I get hold of that inheritance, it will guide the universe masters of my skeleton clan. When one of them is successful, we will all witness the birth of a third Holy Land universe. Ha ha. Hoa. A stream of dark red light flashed and disappeared upon creating a winding line in the air. Then it flew right into the deep, dark passageway and disappeared. This is the only change before the impending doomsday. How could I miss it? Liu Ju Master smiled, transformed into a stream of light, and made her way in. Liu Ju, said a low and thick voice. If you are going, then I will go, too. Rock Giant Master followed without hesitation. He, too, transformed into light and flew in. Shadow Dust. Sorcerer Sprite. Husband and wife looked into one another's eyes and smiled. Let's go. Let's go. Then they, too, went in together. Ha ha. Golden Square Master let out a hearty laugh. I would have to die anyway. This is just a moment earlier. With that, he too went in. In a moment, all the great beings from the first reincarnation era had entered. Only Dear Bug Master and Luo Feng remained on the outside. Are you going or not? Dear Bug Master looked toward Luo Feng. What about you? Luo Feng threw the question back. Dear Bug Master's gaze was airy as he commented, Eternity? So what? The passions of my life lie in all those risky adventures. My clan will not be affected at all if I am gone. The Holy Land universe itself is an eternal existence. Throughout this endless era, this is an inheritance that is hard to come by. If I miss it, I will regret it. This risk may be the biggest one I take in my entire lifetime. Even if I were to embark on it and die in the process, I will still find it a worthy death. Ha ha. I will make a move first. Dear Bug Master transformed into light and flew right in. In the entire Great Hall, only Luo Feng remained. If I were to be annihilated, being a universe knight, I still have a chance of resurrection. The price of resurrecting me may be big, but I can afford to shoulder it. Luo Feng looked toward the dark red abyss. Initially, I wanted to get my golden horned beast body to take Star Tower and leave this place, but the moment I am annihilated, Star Tower will become an item without a master and will drift about the universe boat, where it might end up in some dangerous lands. Or even be snatched away by other groups of powers. If that is the case, I shall take Star Tower with me and try my luck in breaking through. With Star Tower, I have more confidence in dealing with the various dangers. I shall put in my everything and take a gamble. If I succeed, my human race can live on for eternity. Luo Feng transformed into a streak of light and charged into that dark red abyss without further hesitation. Flying through the crimson waves, one could feel how distorted time and space were. There was a feeling of flying through the universe tunnel. There was a flash of light. Before him was a hall faintly enshrouded by a light, white mist. The material of the hall was the same as that of the passageway of the boat of Mausoleum, and the various materials within the cabins were all suffused with a deep grey. Inside the hall, there was Dear Bug Master, Shadow Dust Master, Jittery Sea Master, Liu Ju Master, and another 4 Universe Masters. All 8 of them turned over to look. Luo Feng flew over right away. Milky Way Horde Leader, you have cultivated for only a dozen eras, which is extremely short, and you dare to come here. Dear Bug Master laughed. we were just discussing whether Milky Way would come or not, Shadow Dust Master said with a very kind look. If I were you, with this being the primal universe and with Doomsday still 2 reincarnation eras away, I would still be able to live for so long. So long. With such a short cultivation period but such great achievement, there is no need for you to come and fight it out with us. Actually, you can still make a full retreat now. Since I have come, I will not back away, Luo Feng said casually. Humph. Being here is the same as courting death, Jittery Sea Master said, shooting Luo Feng a hostile look. Since our junior here wants to die, there is no need to bother about him, Red Lark Master also said in a hostile tone. The Skeleton Clan was originally a crazy and cold race. They were only united among their kind, they treated the rest of the world with equal enmity. Especially Luo Feng, who has such a high achievement even though he had only cultivated for a dozen eras. For him, there was an additional trace of jealousy. Actually, out of everyone present, Shadow Dust Master, Sorcerer Sprite Master, and Red Lark Master, who had chosen to try their luck and take the risk in coveting the inheritance, were the ones who hated Luo Feng the most. They were well aware that the selection of an heir normally placed much emphasis on areas such as improvement, speed, and comprehension level. One had cultivated for a dozen eras, and another had cultivated for close to 3 reincarnation eras, yet their achievements were comparable. Who would Duandong River choose? It was needless to say. Now, they could only hope that the methods that Duandong River left behind were unable to determine how long a great being had lived. Yet they all felt that Duandong River was too unfathomable, so they were full of uncertainty when it came to him. More of them prayed that Luo Feng would back out as early as possible. When all 9 of them, including Luo Feng, had gathered in that misty hall and were all engaged in a heated exchange of sarcastic remarks, an intangible energy suddenly started to gather by their side. Eventually, it gave form to a figure. This was the green-haired man, Duandong River. All 9 have arrived. Duandong River's gaze swept across the 9 great beings, and he nodded. Let's begin with the first round of selection. Selection? Dear Bug Master, Shadow Dust Master, and Luo Feng all felt knots within their chests. No one dared to claim that he would be able to pass the selection. Rise. Duandong River pointed at the somewhere far on the ground of the hall. The ground suddenly split in half. Then a strange machine gradually emerged from beneath. It was entirely dark red in color. On its surface were many secret engravings of various laws. The secret engravings were so mystical that they made every great being present go dizzy due to a lack of understanding. A crack suddenly appeared on the Magicube instrument to reveal a door. Go in one at a time, Duandong River said right away. Selection will be done one at a time. Only one can enter each time. Let's begin. The 9 great beings looked at one another. Who should go first? The strange and unpredictable Magicube instrument looked quite dangerous. At that moment, not a single great being present was willing to be the first to enter. Duandong River pointed at Dear Bug Master. You, go in. The other universe masters from the first reincarnation era relaxed instantly and even started jesting. This is merely the start of the selection process, Dear Bug Master will succeed for sure. Yes, how can this be of any difficulty to Dear Bug Master? Dear Bug Master merely smiled. Without a word, he walked toward that Magicube instrument and stepped into it. Soon, a cracking sound was heard, the doors of the Magicube instrument shut. The secret engravings on the surface of the Magicube instrument lit up. Bouts of strong energy waves were churning inside the Magicube instrument, and the entire Magicube instrument went from an initial dark red to a dazzling, incandescent white. What is going on in there? Luo Feng grew tense. Selection? What was being selected? Everything was unknown. From inside, Dear Bug Master did not make a single sound, or perhaps he was shouting and roaring in pain, but no sounds were transmitted out. In short, because nothing could enter the Magicube instrument, the rest outside could not help feeling anxious. A moment later, the door opened. A figure walked out from the Magicube instrument. It was Dear Bug Master. Doubt was written all over his face, which the other 8 universe masters did not understand. It seemed like something had happened to Dear Bug Master when he'd gone in. That would explain his expression. First round of selection, qualified. Doan Dong Master took one look at Dear Bug Master. Instantly, Dear Bug Master's face showed his delight. Dear Bug Master, what is inside the instrument? Liu Ju Master asked. Congratulations, Dear Bug Master. I'm not sure. What's in there? Sorcerer Sprite also asked. There were the only two females present, and at that moment, both had spoken up. Go in and find out for yourselves, Dear Bug Master finished curtly and stood by the side. Anyway, he had made it through this ridiculous selection process, so naturally, he would be able to relax and wait by the side. Duan Dong River's gaze swept through the remaining 8. Next. I'll go next. Jittery Sea Master's eyes flashed a murderous glint as he took one big step forward. Seeing that a great being had volunteered himself, Duan Dong River simply stood there without a word and watched in silence. Jittery Sea Master walked to the door of the Magicube instrument, hesitated for a split moment, then with one step forward, he went in. The door shut. Soon after, the secret engravings on the surface of the Magicube instrument lit up again. Luo Feng and company waited in silence. What was going on inside the instrument? After a short moment, the door opened, and Jittery Sea Master walked out. Similarly, he, too, wore an expression full of doubt. Duan Dong River looked toward Jittery Sea Master, and with a tinge of harshness in his eyes, he said coldly, "You, disqualified." This caused the other great beings to feel a sudden tremble in their hearts. Disqualified? Disqualified? I'm disqualified? Why am I disqualified? Jittery Sea Master grew so anxious that he could not hold back himself as he blurted out, I have lived through almost 3 reincarnation eras. Even though that Dear Bug Master has lived much longer than me, the only advantage he had over me was that he owned a supreme true treasure. That's why he's a little stronger than me. Why am I disqualified? This was the one chance that the Skeleton Clan had. Jittery Sea Master was reluctant to give it up. Shut your mouth. Duan Dong River shouted. Next. Duan Dong River looked at the other 7. The only one willing to volunteer, Jittery Sea Master, had unexpectedly been disqualified. This made the remaining 7 feel so cautious that they did not dare volunteer themselves. You? Duan Dong River pointed at Liu Ju Master. Liu Ju Master, qualified. Rock Giant Master, disqualified. Shadow Dust Master, qualified. Sorcerer Sprite Master, qualified. Golden Square Master, qualified. Jittery Sea Master, disqualified. Red Lark Master, disqualified. Duan Dong River finally pointed towards Luo Feng. You? Was the order intentional or unintentional? No one really knew because after Jittery Sea Master's failed attempt upon volunteering his turn, the rest of the great beings' turns were all decided by Duan Dong River, who pointed out who was next in line. Luo Feng held his breath and walked toward that Magicube instrument. Then he walked past the door and entered. Inside the instrument was an individual void space. Luo Feng was suspended within the void space as he observed his surroundings. There was no exit at all. Hong. 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 Streaks of distorted secret engravings started appearing within the void space. Dazzling white secret engravings were distributed all over the void space as bouts of strange and unpredictable energy appeared instantaneously. This energy tried to penetrate Luo Feng. Even though he had Star Tower to guard his soul and Crazy Demon Extermination godly armor to protect his body, they were not useful. This strange and unpredictable energy penetrated his godly body, and at that moment, Luo Feng felt as though all his secrets were revealed. The invisible, strange power continued to penetrate within his body. It penetrated every inch of godly power, and eventually merged with Luo Feng to become a complete whole. A short moment later, the distorted secret engravings in the void space started to dissipate, and the strange energy completely disappeared. A door appeared before him in that void space. Luo Feng took a step and passed the doorway to enter the hall outside. What happened inside the Magicube instrument earlier still left Luo Feng filled with doubts. There were slight changes in the expressions of Deer Bug Master, Shadow Dust Master, Sorcerer Sprite Master, and a few others who had passed the first round of selection earlier, as this was the first time Duandong River Asterisk Wu had smiled since the very beginning. Smile? Not right. Something is not right. Given how the various great beings judged, this Duandong River must be of a very cold character. This shadow that he left behind must have been compatible with his character. You. Duandong River pointed toward Jittery Sea Master, Red Lark Master, and Rock Giant Master. The three of you, quickly take your leave. If you do not leave now, you may be annihilated on your way. Jittery Sea Master and Red Lark Master looked at one another with great reluctance. All of the skeleton clan had been eliminated? Rock Giant Master was a rock-type special life form. He also looked at Liu Ju Master and whispered, Liu Ju, Rock Giant will no longer be able to protect you. Do take great care. Lord Duandong River, would you be able to tell us why both of us did not pass? Jittery Sea Master could not hold back his question. Not from my clan, and yet you wish to inherit something from a pulse on my Duandong River. Dream on. Get lost. Duandong River said with hostility. Your clan. Luo Feng, Deer Bug Master, and the others were greatly shocked. Strictly speaking, the 6 great beings who had passed the selection were not from the same clan, or even not fully beings of the flesh and the blood type. For instance, Liu Ju Master was a plant life form, yet she had still passed the selection. Clan. Jittery Sea Master and Red Lark Master gritted their teeth, transformed into light streams and dashed out. Giant Rock Master, after bidding farewell to Liu Ju Master with a most unwilling heart, also dashed out and flew into the crimson-red streaks of light. Coursing along the crimson-red streaks of light, with the passing of time and space, the 3 quickly arrived at the control room in the hall they were at previously. Humph! Jittery Sea Master lowered his head and looked at the deep crimson passageway. With gritted teeth, he said, if that is the reason, doesn't it mean that no one from Skeleton Clan will be able to succeed? If that is the case, our Skeleton Clan will not be able to succeed at all, Red Lark Master said with a voice dripping with hatred. Let's just spread the news. Let the various groups of powers know. Let a large number of great beings make their way here. What we of the Skeleton Clan cannot achieve, we shall not let the Divine Eye Clan achieve easily. After all, out of the 6 who qualified, 3 were from the Divine Eye Clan. How could the Skeleton Clan look on while the Divine Eye Clan was on their way to achieving something they could not? Within the Misty Hall, Duandong River looked at the remaining 6 and said, if you are not from my clan, naturally, you do not qualify for the inheritance. However, this is merely the simplest round of selection. Also, it is the only safe round. What comes next will involve life and death dangers. If you are afraid, you can still choose to retreat now. This video will end here.